Now it's time for our first Ask the Expert of the show, and joining me in the studio is Helen Spencer from WR Partners. Helen, thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. It's good to be here.
WR Partners is on the acquisition trail, isn't it, at the moment? You're expanding, you're well known here in Shropshire and kind of into Wales. Where have you gone to next?
Cheshire.
Right, okay.
You know, as you say, as a business, then yes, we have some really ambitious growth plans. You know, have a really solid reputation and a solid base. You know, within Shropshire, with our Shrewsbury and Ludlow offices, in Mid and North Wales. But yes, the opportunity has arisen, and yes, we've acquired Howard Worth, which is a really well-established practice in Cheshire, which will give us a further two offices. So it's very exciting times. It
is exciting. And Cheshire is quite a nice fit as well with the Shropshire business community as well, isn't it?
It is, and it aligns, you know, very well. So, you know, our base is very much rural. You know, clearly being based in Shropshire, and Cheshire has a very similar agri-based, but also, you know, some great businesses as there are in the localities in which we're operating as well. So it's very well aligned, and it naturally, I think, fits with Shropshire and then into Wales. And
acquiring a business during this time in COVID, what challenges have you faced? How's that been?
There's been many challenges. I mean, the most obvious one sits around communication, and whether that's communication with our teams or communication with clients. You know, a lot of the face-to-face communication that we would normally do hasn't been possible. So we've had to be a lot more creative. You know, lots of Zoom type communication webinars, lots of sort of, I guess, coffee breaks and coffee meetings over, you know, over Zoom as well. We've done some face-to-face when lockdown restrictions were lifted, but clearly we're back now very much either working from home or very much skeleton crew. But yeah, it is possible.
It is, yeah. I suppose, was there normally when you'd go in and you'd meet people, you'd make a connection, but it's a little bit more difficult on Zoom, isn't it? It
is, yeah. As I said, you do have to work hard at it. I think you do need to make sure that you can get in front of people. You have to meet smaller groups so they get to know you as well. So yes, when we could do face to face, we have. When we've tried to build those connections, we know we have. You know, but it's a long. The other thing to say is I think it's a long-term plan. So it's about recognising what we can do in the short term, and then what we will do longer term to really cement the relationships, both client relationships, but also the relationships with the team.
And talking about Zoom, which we're all doing at the moment, there's a lot of cultural change within business at the moment because of the situation. What have you personally seen?
I think the key culture shift is around how we're working and how we want to work. So I think pre-COVID we had this strategy of what we call smart working, which is enabling our teams to work almost wherever they wanted, but actually that was quite hard to achieve. I'm not sure culturally we'll get everybody back in the office full time.
Do you think that's changed then?
I think it has changed. Yeah, I think when I talk to our teams, they want to have access to the office for collaboration. They want access to the office for support and development. So they do want some access to the office, but they also like the flexibility of working from home, and it's about providing our teams with the technology to enable that to happen. So I think that's probably one of the key cultural shifts. But you do therefore have to make sure that you do communicate, because you want our employees to feel that they are still associated with the business.
I think that's a good point, because you can be working from home and you very much feel isolated or on your own unless you are having that communication.
Yes. So, you know, we do webinars, I do regular updates. We make sure that we find ways to say thank you. So, you know, making sure that we are regularly sort of touching in with and making sort of contact with our employees. But I'd be interesting, you know, my view is that the shift has happened, and I think going back to everybody sitting in an office 9 till 5, I'm not sure necessarily that's what people will want. So the feedback I'm getting, that's not what they want.
Do you think that some people may be more productive working from home? Because I've spoken to quite a few people and they've actually mentioned they are more productive. They're not wasting time travelling to and from a workplace.
I think it depends on the role, and I think it depends on the tasks. I think roles that are I call quite task specific, particularly we're an accountant, so you know, if it's about preparing accounts, then absolutely yes, you can do that at home. I think when it's it's things that are more creative or more collaborative, that's where I think you do lose something not working face to face, or having the opportunity to interact face to face. But I think absolutely right. I think there are a number of jobs that you can carry out very efficiently and very effectively at home.
Now, a lot of people are looking forward to 2021. What do you think that year is going to hold for us? Any top tips?
I think it's the early part of 2021. I think it's probably going to be more of the same. I think is my view. So I guess my top tips, I think, would be to recognise, and we talk about this new normal, that making sure that the way in which we're operating as a business is continuing. I think there are some opportunities out there, and I'm very positive. And I do think COVID has provided opportunities for some business, not all, for some. I think it's making sure that my top tip is to make sure that your business is in the strongest position possible for when we come out of COVID, and recession or not. Making sure that you are in a position financially and structurally, you have a really great plan in terms of what it is that you want to achieve, and to be brave. Not to be afraid of what the future could hold, because I think there are, as I've said, some great opportunities for us all.
I think you're right, and I think, as you said, that we've had time to think about things throughout this period, whether you've been on furlough or people have been working from home. So looking ahead to 2021, there are those things that we can do.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of great practices been put into place, through this lockdown, through COVID, and I think we have the opportunity to build on those. So I've talked about, how are we working at the moment? How are we servicing our clients? What advice are we providing to our clients? And what of that should we be continuing, because it's just really great and it's working for our clients and working for us, and which are the bits that we just need to change in whatever that new norm. But it hasn't all been negative, far from it.
No,
I think as a business, we've been able to accelerate some, in some great ways, during the last few months.
Do you think this has progressed business then for you?
I think it has, yeah. Yeah, I think it has. I think we've probably achieved more in 6 months than we would have achieved in normal circumstances. Right. I think has been our reality, but also I recognise it's the sector in which we are. That hasn't been every business's experience, and I would be the first. I'll be the first to recognise that. But it's about taking out of this current situation that we're all in. And actually taking the positives, and I think moving those into next year, I guess would be my top tip. Don't try and go back to as we thought it was, because I think if we do that, we've lost a lot of developments and a lot of learning for us all as individuals and as businesses.
Brilliant. Well, Helen, thank you very much for taking the time out to join us in the studio.
You're very welcome. Thank you.